The big news of the day is that Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher, the best left-handed pitching prospect in baseball, according to many publications, he is going to make his Giants debut tomorrow in Philadelphia. He just turned 22 years old. And for a team that has essentially two starting pitchers, one of whom is Alex Cobb, who has struggled a lot recently, this is a great development. And also, Giants only won one in Atlanta, but as I said going into the series, one was enough.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015. And I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Check us out there, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're listening. Also, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And coming up on today's show, the lead, the headliner, Kyle Harrison, whom many publications have as the Giants' best prospect, one of the best prospects in baseball, and the best left-handed pitching prospect in baseball. He is going to make his Major League debut tomorrow in Philadelphia. He's going to start the game, according to what we've heard. I never fully trust them on stuff like this. Honestly, that's one of the themes that I could do without over the last handful of years under this regime, is that they don't always do what they say they're going to do. And so until it happens, we'll just have to wait and see. But I fully believe it will happen. He's not built up to go. He's not going to pitch into the 8th inning. But if he gives them 4, maybe 5 innings, and the potential is there to blow people away, to blow their doors off. This is that kind of pitcher. A lot of people say best pitching prospect for the Giants since Madison Bumgarner. And I think that's true, but I also don't want to, I feel like that comes across as suggesting that they're similar styles of pitcher, which they're not. To me, the comparison, even though it's not a perfect comparison either, is Tim Lincecum when we're talking about the electric stuff, the strikeout ability, not the same pitch mix, not the same hand with which they throw, but kind of the potential to dominate and overpower. Bumgarner was never that kind of pitcher. Of course, he did dominate at times, including the most critical of times, but it was never with huge, gaudy strikeout numbers, and that's the potential for Kyle Harrison. And also, Bumgarner always had good command. I think Lincecum at times kind of wavered with his command. So, Kyle Harrison is going to join a long list of Giants to debut in 2023. And one of the thoughts I've had recently, which I just think is true, is that you're not going to hit on all of these guys. Like when we look at the performance of so many of the rookies who have come up this year, looking at Casey Schmidt, Luis Matos, there are plenty of others, but then also Patrick Bailey. It's like if Schmidt never pans out, if Matos never reaches his ceiling, just having Bailey establish himself as what he's become, which is like a solid bat with platinum glove type defense, you don't need to hit on every single guy, just like we saw in the 2010s, although they did hit on a lot of guys. But like Posey, Sandoval, Kane, Bumgarner, Lincecum, okay, that was kind of a lot of guys, but you don't need to hit on all of them. But Harrison is a big piece, especially for this team that is lacking in starting pitching. And with Alex Cobb struggling, he got the loss in the first game in Atlanta, 5 2/3. I thought he pitched better than the final results showed, but he simply just hasn't been great recently. And by recently, I mean for a month or two. I don't know exactly at what point he started not being great, but he's not been great recently. And then so you're looking at a rotation where you feel good about one guy in Logan Webb. And so reminds me very much of David Price with the Tampa Bay Rays when he was a rookie. That is a similar kind of pitcher. Left-handed, high velocity, strikeout stuff. Pitched well down the stretch and led them into the playoffs, and then was a secret weapon in October and helped them. I believe that was the year they went to the World Series and lost to the Phillies, but went to the World Series nonetheless. And so look, I'm not making any predictions like that, but what I am saying is he could be a factor for this team in the final, whatever it is, like less than 40 games. It's crazy how the season is somewhat coming to a close here. And then if you get into October, and especially like the division looks over to me. And so if you get into October, you're playing a best of 3 series to try to move on to the best of 5 division series. And if Kyle Harrison can establish himself as a weapon, that is a huge deal for a series like that. And so anyway, not to put too much pressure on the kid who just turned 22 years old just the other day. So they just barely miss on having 3 21-year-olds debuting this year in Luciano, Matos, and Harrison. Harrison just turned 22 on August 12th. He struggled with command this year in general, but his last 2 outings, I don't think he walked a single batter. His last 2 outings, here you go. It's taking me longer than I thought. 11 strikeouts, 0 walks, 3 runs, 7 hits in 7 1/3 innings. But an 11-0 strikeout to walk ratio, that's exactly what they were looking for, and that's why he's getting called up. Giants have played well in Philadelphia. Phillies have some good left-handed hitters, so they're a good team, but it's like better than having him face the Braves, who have all these extremely lethal right-handed hitters. I think that the Phillies are a better landing spot. Obviously, you'd like for him to have debuted at home, but plenty of notice is given here, so family will be able to come out. I'm just saying, and we'll have an episode tomorrow where we can preview his start even more, he could struggle. And like I was saying about Lincecum struggled in his first start. He walked a bunch of batters. I think he gave up 2 home runs, 5 runs, 5 hits. It wasn't a great start, but then he went on to be dominant for pretty much, I mean, certainly the peak of his career and back-to-back Cy Young. So I'm not putting that on Kyle Harrison, but what I am saying is this has the potential of almost anyone to make the biggest impact for the Giants down the stretch and potentially in the playoffs. So that's the lead today, even though yesterday the Giants picked up a huge win in Atlanta. I said they had to win 1. It looked like they were going to win the middle game, and then they blew it in the 8th. So a huge bounce back to win that final game and have a happy flight off to Philadelphia. That was, to me, like the biggest win of the year yesterday that the Giants picked up. So we will get into it, and we will get into some important roster moves that got made with Brandon Crawford going back on the IL. What does that mean for the rest of the year and for the future at that position after his contract is up at the end of the year? We'll get into it in just a minute. And before we do, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event, whether it's the Giants, a concert, a theater performance, whatever it is, it shouldn't have to be stressful. And for me, it always was, especially with Giants tickets. Let's be real. I don't do anything else but baseball. Watching baseball, going to baseball games, used to travel and watch the Giants a lot on the road. Haven't done that as much recently, but especially when you're going to a stadium you've never been to before. How are you supposed to know what the view is like from the seat? Especially, you're looking at a two-dimensional map. And so it's like, okay, this is the third deck, but is it like really high up or is it kind of low? How am I supposed to know? With Game Time, those fears are put to rest. You get images of seat views. And my favorite thing of all, even better than that, is the lowest price guarantee, which means if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Alrighty, friends, here we go. We are going to discuss the Giants winning one in Atlanta. It's not very often you win a third of your games in a certain span, and I'm going to say that that's good enough. But in this case, I'm going to say that's good enough. Thanks again for making Locked on Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers tomorrow on the show, breaking down game 1 in Philadelphia. You're facing Aaron Nola, who's like one of the aces of the Phillies. They've got a couple, but he's not having a great year. And he went like through a huge stretch where he gave up a home run in every single start. He's not currently riding that stretch, but he's given up a ton of homers this year. And so the key for me, get some guys on base and hit a big fly against Aaron Nola. Giants going with an opener, Scott Alexander. So we'll see how that goes. Generally, they've had success with the strategy, less so recently. Giants play the Phillies today at 3:40 Pacific. You can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Giants. So yeah, just basically, I'm here to tell you that the Giants just needed to win one in Atlanta, and they did. The Atlanta Braves are like the best team in baseball this year. For the longest time, I would consistently say the Dodgers are the best team in baseball, but this year the Braves are the best team in baseball. And not just like, oh, this year, it's not just based on record. It's based on, holy cow, the collection of talent and long-term commitments to that talent, and the emergence of guys like Spencer Strider, who kind of came out of nowhere to be by far the best strikeout pitcher in the game. There's just like no flaws on the Atlanta Braves. And so to go into Atlanta, where after this series, they're 42-21, they just simply win 2 out of every 3 games at home. And so the Giants did what the league has done. They lost 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. Big whoop. Every win matters a lot. And they blew a lead in the 8th inning. Tyler Rogers gave up a 2-out single and a homer with a 1-run lead. That's just how it's going for the Braves. I think it's fair to say, why not go to Camilo Doval in that situation once Eddie Rosario comes up after Ozuna gets the hit. But I will also say Tyler Rogers was so dominant. This was his second inning of work. His first inning of work, he was so dominant. And then he got the first 2 outs of the next inning. And then he gave up kind of a soft single to Marcell Ozuna. So it's not like Rogers was getting hit around. But at the same time, Doval was rested, and obviously he's your closer for a reason. As good as Tyler Rogers has been, Doval is less likely to give up contact, period. And so I'd kind of play for the strikeout when a home run is exactly what you don't need. Even a double and the game is probably tied. And so anyway, I understand. But at the same time, like, this is Kapler going with his gut. And a lot of time, if you take out Rogers, who had otherwise been cruising, then people will say, why did you take out a guy who had cruised through an inning and 2/3 before giving up just a weak single, and then go to Doval? And then if Doval gives up the homer, you're getting the same criticism for bringing in Doval. So that's just life as a major league manager. It's not easy. None of these armchair managers at home would do any better, in my opinion, at managing a team. And there's a lot more that goes into managing a team than just on-field decisions. And that's hard enough as it is. And meeting with the media every day, even when times are tough, that's hard. So anyway, I don't really blame Kapler. I just credit the Braves' devil magic that they have this year. If you give them an inch, they take it. And that's why the first game was nothing to write home about. The Giants got shut out 4-0. They had 2 hits. Spencer Strider was great as advertised, and that was it. End of story. But a gritty win in the finale. And by the way, in the second game of the series that the Giants lost, they had 11 hits, and they drew just 2 walks. But 11 hits, that's a huge outburst for this team, and 5 runs in a 9-inning game. And on Sunday, they had 10 more hits and they drew 4 walks. And so these are positive signs. To do that against the Braves, I know you were facing Yanni Chirinos in the middle game, but they were facing Max Fried in the finale, and Fried is really good. And they got him for 9 hits. They got 9 hits off of Max Fried, including 2 home runs, Luis Matos, and who else? Wilmer Flores with a home run against Max Fried, who even with this outing has a 2.83 ERA. So it was a good game for the offense and a resilient game for the team, as they had another late lead and they let it slip away in the 8th again. Thankfully, this time the Braves only tied the game as opposed to going ahead, but the Giants just picked one up right afterwards in the 9th. And so that's the type of thing you like to see, responding after a tough inning or after the other team ties it up, just come right back and take the lead back. That's what they did. And Doval in this game pitched an inning and 2/3, and he got 3 strikeouts, just walked 1, no hits, no runs. So he did a great job kind of bailing out Taylor Rogers, who walked 2, and Luke Jackson, I thought he had walked 1, but he didn't. Just Taylor Rogers walking 2, and Doval coming in and just kind of rescuing the day. So with the 1 win, it made a big difference, in my opinion, in that the Giants in the wild card standings, they still have a 1.5 game lead over a playoff spot. Otherwise, you're looking at being out of a playoff spot, or being half a game out of a playoff spot. No, they'd still be the 3rd team. It's for some reason confusing to me right now, but to maintain a 1.5 game lead over a playoff spot is a big deal as the season starts to trend towards winding down. And their playoff odds went from just over 50% to over 60% yesterday. So it was just a good day, and they need good days moving forward. Giants have played the Phillies well consistently since Gabe Kapler took over, so hopefully they can do it again as they start their series tonight. So coming up in just a minute, we're going to give you some medical updates, what they mean, and who stepped in, and why it matters. So stay tuned for that. But first, all right, as promised, some medical updates. The Giants putting one of their quote-unquote key guys on the injured list. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow breaking down Aaron Nola. Can the Giants, make him continue to struggle? Can the Giants have a good bullpen game ahead of the debut of Kyle Harrison? We will get into all of that tomorrow. The Giants play the Phillies at 3:40 Pacific today, and you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Giants. So Brandon Crawford goes on the injured list. I don't even remember what the injury is. It's like left forearm strain. Not exactly what I thought would be bothering him, especially when you consider he throws with his right arm, and so it's left forearm. So so it's his top hand when he's hitting. That, you really you punch with that hand when you're hitting. I stunk as a hitter when I played. Loved the game, tried to be a good hitter. Hitting is impossible. But that top hand really kind of drives your swing. And so, not using it as an excuse, but simply put, Crawford has stunk at the plate this season. He's hit 194. He's got a 264 on base, a 318 slugging. It's a 59 weighted runs created plus, which is, it means like over 40% below major league average. I know he's done his best work in clutch situations, so kudos to him. That's great. Also, no disrespect. I really am just stating numbers here, but he's just like his at-bats and his presence in the lineup is not doing anyone any favors. Let's just say that. And so it's not that big of a deal offensively for him to go on the injured list. But defensively, what does it mean? It means, Johan Camargo is your starting shortstop? And frankly, Camargo has had some good at-bats with the Giants. And he made a really good defensive play yesterday as well. His offensive numbers on the season aren't much better. Nice batting average. Well, this is just in 6 games. He's hit 286 with the Giants, but a 286 slugging, meaning he has no extra base hits. And in his career, he's been a little above average against left-handed pitching, but well below average against right-handed pitching. So if there's a righty on the mound, I still think, looking at the Giants roster, that if there's a righty on the mound, that you're going to see, you could see Tyro Estrada play short and just put Casey Schmidt for his defense at second. I don't know. I don't know exactly what they'll do. Aaron Nola is a really good righty on the mound tonight, so we'll see how that plays out. I would imagine that Johan Camargo just plays most of the games at shortstop in the absence of Crawford. So they also called up Luis Matos. As I said, he hit a homer, which was great to see. He also hit a rocket single, the hardest hit ball of his major league career. So as I said when he got sent down, he was 21 years old. And so struggles are to be expected and are a perfectly normal part of a player's development. It is very rare that a player just comes up and takes the league by storm and never looks back. So I fully believe in Matos moving forward, or at the very least, my opinion of him wasn't dramatically altered by his relative struggles when he was here. And so to see him come up and just have a great game offensively was really encouraging. Really encouraging. And like I said, they also called up Casey Schmidt. Ryan Walker went on paternity leave, so that was the corresponding move for one of those guys. So that's the state of the team right now. Some of the guys are starting to swing the bat better. You love to see it. You hope they can continue it. Like I said, Giants have had success playing in, not just in, but against the Phillies ever since Gabe Kapler took over. So let's hope that trend continues. And right now, if the season ended today, the Giants would be playing the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia for the wild card series. Let me just make sure that's true. Yeah, Giants would be in Philly for a best of 3. So exactly what we're about to see, a best of 3 in Philadelphia. Yeah, just like right now. And so it's a good test because that very well may end up transpiring. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers tomorrow, breaking down Aaron Nola versus the Giants, going with Scott Alexander, probably maybe Sean Manaea as the follower, as we're saying with Kyle Harrison, and how you want to face the Phillies if you're a lefty. Like, it's a little better than if you're a righty. So Sean Manaea makes sense as the follower, and he's been really good in this role, really good, under the radar, really good. But of course, now that I've been saying this, he'll probably struggle. So I apologize in advance. But of course, I have no actual effect on that. Giants play the Phillies today at 3:40 Pacific, early Pacific Coast game, Pacific time zone game. And you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Giants. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out a lot. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow, hopefully talking about a Giants win. So thanks again for listening. You are now Locked on Giants.